Alright, in this video, you will learn how to pass information between two pages. So if I have some information such as first name, last name, and some other information on the first page, so when I click the submit button, it will take me to the second page, and on the second page, I will use a query string to retrieve the information from the first page and display it there in a literal or label on that page. So let's get started. First, you will click on File, or just create a new project, website project. So if you are not already inside the project, you will have to click new and then click project. And when you click on project, make sure you select Visual C Sharp Web. And we are selecting ASP.NET Empty Web Application. So once you have this, click. You can change the name of this project, but I'll just leave this as default, and it's going to save this project in this location here. All right. This is just a solution name. It's the raw file of Visual Studio. If you want, you can change the name, or you can just leave this as is, and the rest of the information will just leave as is. And go ahead and click OK on this dialog box. Once you click OK on this dialog box, here's my project, and this is the solution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a first page to my project. So if I right click on Web Applications 2, and then click Add, and then click New Item. Once you click New Item, you will see all these objects in there. Make sure you are in Visual C Sharp and Web is selected. So select the first one, which is Web Form, and this is the name of Web Form. We can change this name to Page 1, and then click Add, and it will add page1.aspx. If you click on this triangle icon, it expand this page1.aspx and gives you two more files here. This one is a designer file, and this one is the backend coding file. And this is the page where we'll be putting our code in. But first, we need to go to our page here, which is page1.aspx. Once you're on that page, you will see three icons at the bottom: design, split, and source. We are in the source code of page1.aspx page. We wanted to go to a design page. So click on the design page, and your cursor will be blinking in the body, and you will see div tag. After a few seconds, it creates a div tag for you. Div tag is basically a placeholder where you will placing the objects, such as labels and your text boxes. If this is not displaying, it's probably minimized. You will have two tabs here: Server Explorer and Toolbox. So click on the toolbox, and you will see the toolbox on your left hand side. You can click on this pin icon so it doesn't auto hide automatically. Alright, so once you have this there, go ahead and click on label, or select the label, left click, hold, and drag it into your div. And then we'll do the same thing with the text box. So left click on the text box, hold it, and drag it to your div here. So I have label and a text box. Let's add one more label and text box. So I'm going to press enter twice, so I have a space between um, two labels and text boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and grab another label, place it there, grab another text box, and place it there. So now I have two labels and two text boxes. Let's change the names of these labels. Each label has a ID. It's like we all have names, so we are recognized by names. So these objects have IDs, and these objects are recognized by IDs. IDs are their names basically. So we need to change their IDs. So if you select this, you will see the properties panel on your right hand side, and these are all the properties of this label. As you can see that the text is set to label right now, so we can change this text to first name. And then if you scroll down, you will see the ID. This is the ID that we will use to change the properties of this label. We're not going to do that for the label for now, but I do want you to change the ID. So if I type LBL, that's how we should name it. It means label, LBL. And this is our first name. So I'm going to type first name here. Okay. And let's select the text box. And as you can see, the text box ID is by default set to text box 1. Let's change this to TXT first name. The reason why you wanted to name txt or lbl, so it's easier to find when you go in the back end coding. When you go to this page where you will put your logic or code, it's easier to remember. So if you don't know the name of the text box, you know that your text box always start with txt. So you just type in txt and it will list all the text boxes that you have on that page. So make sure you label your text boxes txt and then the name of the text box. So let's do the same thing with this one here. Label, will change this label to lbl, last name. Okay, and also change the text that displays to the user as last name. Okay, let's select the text box here and change the text box ID in the properties panel here to txt last name. Alright, so before we finish with this page, or with the designing of this page, let's press enter twice. So we have a cursor or insertion point right underneath of this last name, and let's go ahead and add the button, because once we press the button, it will take this information and put it onto the second page. So the button is right here. So let's left click on that button, hold it, and drag it onto your div section here. Once you have this, let's also change the properties of this button. So select that button and you will see the properties of this button. It tells you button 1, and this is the namespace. Alright, text, let's change this to submit. This is the text that users will see. So let's change this to submit, and then if you scroll down, ID, and the way we ID the buttons is BTN, and then the name of the button. So it's submit. Okay. Alright, so this is one page. If we click on this facing or this triangle, this is the button that will basically run the page on your computer and shows you how your page looks like. And it will open up this in a Firefox, and here is my first name and last name. So, and this is page1.aspx. So if I click on submit, it will not do anything because I really didn't put any code for this submit button. So let's close this and stop this by clicking on this red square box. And to put the submit code, double click on submit, and this will bring this page, which is page1.aspx.cs. This is our back-end coding page. As you can see in this title, it's the same name. So this will bring up this page and it will insert this method for the button for us. Alright, so now as you can see that this is the name of the button, which is submit, and this is our method. So what we are going to do in this method, we are going to transfer the values using a query string to a second page. And we still have to create a second page, and you guys remember how to create a second page. Once you right click on your solution, on your web applications too, and then add, and then click new items, and then select web form, change this name to page 2, and then click add. Alright, so we have page 2. So the values from page 1 will go onto the page 2 using a query string. Query string is basically, you probably have noticed in your browser when you open or visit some websites such as Microsoft.com, you probably notice that it has a question mark and some values like ID equals to 00000, and then you have ampersand sign or and sign, and then you have another name called session equals to 12346. So this is a query string. It's passing some values via web link to another page, and when these values gets to this page, then there's a way to retrieve these values using the code in the back end, and then use these values to perform other actions. So we are going to do the same thing. We are going to pass those first and last name in the query string in your web link, and then on the second page, once we get this link, we'll get those values on the second page and display it in here for the users to see. Alright, so let's close this. I'm back to page1.aspx.cs. This is the backend coding page for page 1. So make sure you are in the submit method. So the way we are going to transfer these values, I'm going to use response.redirect. Alright, so I'm going to use this method to no, this is a string, so I'm going to use this method to transfer the values to the second page, and the name of that second page is page2.aspx. Okay, and as you notice that when I open up that web link in the Firefox, whenever you passing the query to the second page, that query always starts with the question mark. So page, and then the name is first name. I'll just put fn equals, close the query, plus, and then the name of the text box is text first name dot text. Okay, so what it's going to do is it will take the value of that text box, whatever value that we will put in that text box, and add that value to this string here. Alright, so let's do the same thing for the last name, but this time instead of putting a question mark, we'll put an ampersand sign. That's how we add more fields or values to the string. So ampersand plus, let's also add last name equals, okay, and then text last name dot text. Alright, so close parenthesis, semicolon, and this is our query string. So when we click on the submit button, what it will do is it will direct that to the second page and will include these two values in the hyperlink. Alright, so let's test this before we proceed further. So I'm going to click on page 1, and then I'm going to click on Firefox, or that icon to run my page in Firefox. Once I get this, I'm going to type my name and click submit, and you'll notice that this will take me to the second page, which is page2.aspx, and here's my first name. The value that I put in that box was my name, first name, and then the last name value is this right here. So now it's not really doing anything because we still have to code on the second page to retrieve these values, to display these values right here in this section. So let's close this and stop this debugging here by clicking on that red square box. Alright, and go to your second page, which is right here, page2.aspx. Once you get to the second page, it will automatically take you to the source page. Make sure you click on the design page, and then you can just double left click anywhere on your design page, and this will take you to the page.2aspx.cs, or you can always go to your page2.aspx.cs in the Solution Explorer window, click on that triangle, and then double click on this page here. That's your backend coding page. So once you're in there, we are going to write our code in page underscore load. This is the method that will run when the page opens up in the browser. So this is the first thing that page will read. There are different methods that I'll show you later how page renders, but for now just make sure that you place your code inside this page load method. So the code that we are going to write is request query dot query string, and then our first string is fn. This is the name that we mentioned before, so dot toString. But right now we are not storing this value anywhere, so let's create a string um, that will hold that value. So I'm just gonna type fn equals to. So whatever value I'll get from the query string fn, it will automatically store this to this string that I have here. So let's do the same thing with the last name. Last name equals request query last name dot toString. Okay, so I have two values on this second page that I retrieved from that web link. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a label on the second page and display these values in that page, and I will add more text to those values that I will retrieve on the second page. So let's type, or actually rather drag the label into our div box here. This is our label. You can change the label ID to result if you want to. So I'm gonna just type in LBL result. This is the ID of that label. All right, so if I'm gonna go back to my page2.aspx.cs, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put these two values into that label. So the way I'm gonna bring up that label is using the ID of that label, which is LBL result. As you can see, once I type LBL, I have only one label with that name, which is result. So I can just click on that dot text. All right, so I'm gonna change the text that users or clients will see when they open or when they display, when that page gets displayed in their browser. All right, so LBL result.text equals to your first name is, this is my string. The way we add string is using the plus icon. So type your string, then plus, and then it's fn. All right, so this is, again, this is the value that will um, be placed from this query string, and this query string is from that web link that we'll get in our browser. All right, so this is one. Your first name is this, and then let's also add our last name. So I'm just gonna put the blank string, so I have space between the lines, plus last name, and your last name is plus ln, right? And then semicolon to end that. All right, so we are done. Let's save this. Go to page 2, run this by clicking on this icon right here. Yeah, you can select different browsers if you want to, but by default I use Firefox, so it's set to Firefox. Once I run this, it will open up the first page in my browser, and all right, something is wrong. Oh, I accidentally put it in the page 2. That's fine. No, this is right. All right, page 1. We gotta go to page 1. That's page 1. Select page 1 and then run it, because if you have page 2 selected and click on this, it will run page 2, or it will try to open up page 2 in the browser, and you will get an error because we don't have any query in our query string in our web link. So make sure you select page 1 and then click on this run button here. Okay, so we have our first name. I'm gonna type my first name and last name here, and then click submit. Once you do this, as you see that now I have this string that I put in the coding. So what basically it's doing is taking this query string, which is in my web link here, first name, this is the value, last name, this is the value, and I'm getting these using the code that I wrote in the back end, and display those values, including with additional text that I have, such as your first name is your name and your last name is this. I didn't have empty string between this and this. That's why there's no space between is and my last name. I can fix that. So if I go back here and click on page 2, right here, I can just add an empty string. Oh, let's click on this icon to stop the page. All right. So empty string. Here you go. Now there should be a space between is and last name. Alright, so I'm going to click on Firefox button here to run. Well, click on that run command to run my page in the Firefox. And of course, I need to select page 1 first, and then click on this button. Alright, so click submit, and here you go. I have no space between is and last name. Alright, so that's how it works. There are different ways to pass values between between two pages. One way to do is using query string. There are different other ways that you can use this, and let me show you. I have this link that I searched online, and that basically explains you how to pass values between ASP.NET pages, and there are different ways. Using a query string, this is the first way that we just did. There are other ways, getting post information from the source page. Okay, and then it gives you a code in Visual Basic and C#. You can follow one of these codes using a session state. You can also get the public property values from the source page. It explains you how it works, but I can show you the videos how these methods will work to pass values between the pages. Alright, so once we are done with this, then I can show you how to store these values into a database, and then how to retrieve the values back from the database and display it on to the user's page. Alright, thanks for watching.